Greetings, everyone, and I am the Story Sleuth. Today we're discussing details of the leak and its veracity, my alternate picks, some theories of the extra third DLC that's been queued up, according to the leak, as well as them playing some Dead by Daylight. To avoid spoilers, wait till the stream goes to the gameplay, as I will keep it on this screen until the discussion is done. So, diving right in, I just heard about the leak yesterday on my Twitter when someone told me that the characters were already confirmed to be, themselves, iconic. Now, I was avoiding leaks because I wanted to be surprised, but when I heard my three favorite characters were already confirmed, I had to see for myself. So, here are my findings, and final warning for the big spoiler. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, either maybe tune away for the next little bit, or leave me on mute for a while. Final warning here. So, first, the leaks website that I found stated explicitly that, and I quote them directly here, "I can't verify if it's true or not, so take this information as a grain of salt. I have been told that the chapter will include two survivors, Leon and Jill, and that the killer will be the Nemesis. I repeat, I cannot confirm these words. If it is true, we will find out next week." Now, I've been seeing a lot of people saying it is confirmed, and as much as I would adore it if it was true, Leon and Jill are my favorite Resident Evil characters, with Nemesis being my favorite monster. The leak itself directly says they can't confirm it yet. Now, it's pretty likely, and it's clear they can't confirm it without revealing who their source is, and also probably getting them fired for likely breach of contract. So, they are likely correct. Now, to repeat, it is very likely that Jill and Leon will be our survivors, and that Nemesis will be our killer. But it hasn't been actually confirmed yet. Though I wonder why it's Leon and not Carlos or Mikhail, since they actually met Nemesis during their time in Raccoon City. In truth, if they had made it Carlos or Mikhail, they could have released Leon with Claire and Mr. X, or even with Birkin, in a separate DLC later, which could have doubled the nostalgia and doubled the iconicness, and two separate DLCs, in fact. But we'll get to that later. Now, I missed the leak and the news release on Gematsu when I made my first theory. Sorry about that. In truth, the first theory I made was more to get people talking, because theories are meant to be either proven or disproven. It's less about being right or wrong, more about getting attention to whatever the theory's about. And honestly, I loved the fact that people were talking and leaving comments on my YouTube, and were chatting on the stream and chatting on my Twitter. In fact, it was amazing. Even though I got egg on my face, it was a wonderful thing. I never thought I'd enjoy egg on my face, but well, apparently we all learned something today. But it was wonderful. I had so many people talking in the comments. There was a little bit of argumentation going on, and some people were targeting each other, and I didn't like that very much. But in the end, I felt everyone was talking to each other, and that's a wonderful thing. Anything that can develop discussion is incredible, in my opinion. The stories we can make with each other when we just start talking is always something that should be encouraged whenever possible. But for now, in case the leak isn't correct, because again, it hasn't been confirmed yet, that's going to be tomorrow during their live stream, and good lord, I am looking forward to that. I do have a few top picks just in case if it isn't Nemesis. Oh, good god, I really hope it's Nemesis. Now, I'd still love it to be Ethan Winters, because it was sad. And a lot of people say he's faceless, but he actually does have a face. He has a face model in Resident Evil 7, and in fact, in Resident Evil 8 during the closing cutscene, he has a face modeled. Now, whether or not this is for DLC reasons or for other reasons, again, we'll get to that later, I don't know, but my first pick would be maybe Ethan Winters and then either Maya Winters or Zoe Baker as survivors, and then depending on the second survivor, the killer would likely be either Mother Miranda or Evelyn, respectively. Now, my second pick would be Mr. X with Leon and Claire as survivors. Yeah, I'm completely throwing out the whole gone in canon thing, because the leak has kind of shaken my theory on the whole they have to be gone in canon. So, Especially if it turns out to be confirmed, then that opens the door for a lot of still in their universe characters. In which case, I would love to see other characters from other universes. And for third, I would love to see Mutant Birkin as the killer, with Sherry Birkin and Claire Redfield as survivors if Claire Redfield doesn't get introduced soon. That would actually be pretty interesting because they have a direct connection to Mutant Birkin. Leon also gets to see him in the remake as well, but actually, I think he also sees him in the original too, doesn't he? I'd have to go back and look at that. I never actually played the original second game, but I think I've seen playthroughs of it, but that was a while ago. Now, if you like what you've been seeing or hearing so far, please consider subscribing or following to find future content and check out my other content. If you're on my Twitch, I have polls available for interaction. Leave a comment on YouTube or Twitter. Next, I'd like to quickly discuss some of the news articles and language used in the leaks quickly and dirtily. Now, first, some people have been saying the characters themselves will be iconic. So let's read the quotes where this thought comes from. So first, this is from the news release from the Gematsu website that was released by Behavior directly. Game director Matthew Cote added, "This is such an awesome new addition to our universe. If you had told us 5 years ago when we launched that one day we would be adding characters from the legendary Resident Evil world into our game, none of us would have believed you. We are so very grateful to Capcom for everything they've done over the years to bring horror to the world of video games. And today, we get to bring these icons into Dead by Daylight. It is an incredibly proud moment for us." Now, from how the language is used, icons could be referencing Capcom as in meaning icons of horror. It also could be referencing the characters themselves as being iconic, though it doesn't directly. It could even be referencing Resident Evil, the franchise, as iconic itself. Now, let's keep our fingers crossed, though, because I really do want Nemesis, Jill, and Leon. They would become my main survivors. I'm sorry, Claudette. Friendship ended. Down the stairs with you. Leon is now my new main survivor, and Jill's now my new second main survivor, with Bill being the third. Now, essentially, the wording is a bit odd, as it is a direct flip of what I've been hearing. And anyone who's played the telephone game probably understands how that happened. And the way that happened, as it turns out, is from the leak website. Because they say, and here's the direct quote, "Also, the game director of Dead by Daylight, Matthew Cote, confirms that the characters arriving from the world of Resident Evil will be iconic." And then the quote I just quoted before. So the original news article doesn't say the characters will be iconic, but the leak website said they'll be iconic. That's where that comes from, if anyone's been wondering. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that they are using the "from a certain point of view" argument. Now, if you want to find the website, it is the Leaks by Daylight website. If you Google it, you should be able to find it. It's a .com website. They have plenty of good info on DLCs released and the latest on leaks, so if you are interested in that kind of information, give them a look. I usually try to avoid that kind of thing, but if I'm ever going to release another theory chapter again, I'm definitely going to be looking into that kind of thing. But speaking of those DLCs, 3 were added to the Steam queue, sorry. One is the chapter, clearly. One is likely iconic outfits from Resident Evil that we're just not getting characters for. But there is a third one as well. Now, people are theorizing what it could be. Top theories are that it could be a separate set of survivors. Maybe Claire, or Carlos, or Mikhail, or Chris, or who knows. Or even it could be a set of survivors and a killer or 2 killers as if another chapter at the same time, like Mr. X or Mutant Birkin and previously stated survivors. But some also wonder, now this is less talked about and less likely, but what if it could be a separate game mode? Now, since the article has talked about new ways to survive and kill survivors, perhaps a differently oriented game mode option. But then it brings about the question, would there have been enough time to develop something like that? I can't say for sure there would, but they did partner with Capcom for this. But they both use different engines. So whether the programmers would have enough overlapping experience to help each other, or if they'd slow each other down, hard to say. But Unreal is pretty popular in the gaming world, so there may be enough overlapping experience that maybe working together they could have gotten something out the door? Hard to say for sure. We'll find out tomorrow. And I'm certainly looking forward to that stream, as I'm sure most of you are. However, there's one final thing I wanted to discuss. One minor thing, really, and then one major thing. It was the teaser trailer. Remember that one? The first one we got? Guy getting hooked, the Umbrella logo falling into that little patch of four-leaf clovers, specifically four-leaf ones. Now, four-leaf clovers have some symbolism in Resident Evil. For example, the clover key from Resident Evil 2, which only Leon got, which in hindsight adds more credence to Leon being a survivor. But it could mean more things. For example, there is a studio that helped with some development of Resident Evil games. That was like Four Leaf Clover Studios. I'm not going to get into all of that and everything that they went into, since I don't want to spend, 1/5 of the stream like I did last time. However, I am a bit more curious about the medal. Now, it could just be a charm cosmetic. However, I'm wondering if it's going to be an item for survivors, maybe unlocking a secret exit or unlocking something else. But it could also be an event currency as well, kind of like how those vial serums and things like that were event currencies in the past. But I'd like to bring up something. Do you remember in Resident Evil 6 when Jake and Sherry had to collect those very same little tokens to unlock the exit to the compound? But if you collected them all, you got an awesome machine gun? Now, what if those medals are hidden around the map, and collecting them allows you to open a special chest which grants a new rarity of item? Legendary rarity. If you've been on the wiki, you've seen that silver-plated symbol for a legendary rated item. Something so powerful, scafing may just be more likely in dire situations. I'm not going to say you get a gun. This ain't that kind of game. At least, not yet, but then maybe in that DLC. But what if you get a flare gun, like an Alan Wake, and by the way, wouldn't he be a character for this game? But like a legendary level flashlight with one use. Maybe a good balance would be characters could only ever possess one such item per character, or maybe even per account, and it's shared by all characters. But we're going to learn more tomorrow, and then I'm definitely looking forward to knowing more about that. If you enjoyed, feel free to follow or subscribe, like, leave a comment, and feel free to join me on Twitter or YouTube or Twitch if you're watching on YouTube in the future.